out.
In the fertile land of Egypt, the descendants of Jacob, now called Israelites, multiplied greatly, filling the land. A new pharaoh, fearing their growing numbers, enslaved them, forcing them into brutal labor, and cruelly ordering every Hebrew male baby drowned in the Nile. Amidst this terror, a Levite woman bore a son, Moses. She hid him for 3 months, then placed him in a basket among the reeds of the Nile, where Pharaoh's daughter discovered and adopted him. Moses grew up in the palace, yet his heart remained with his people. One day, seeing an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, he intervened, killing the Egyptian, and fled into the wilderness of Midian. Years later, while tending sheep, Moses encountered a miraculous sight, a bush burning but not consumed. From its flames, God's voice called him, revealing his holy name, and commissioning Moses to lead his people out of Egyptian bondage to a promised land. Returning to Egypt, Moses, now with Aaron, confronted Pharaoh, demanding Israel's release. Pharaoh, however, scoffed at their God, hardening his heart and cruelly intensifying the Israelites' forced labor, denying them straw for bricks. The people, crushed and demoralized, cried out against Moses and Aaron. Moses, disheartened, questioned God, asking why he had sent him only to bring more affliction. But God, ever faithful, reaffirmed his covenant, declaring, "I am the Lord. I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm, and with great judgments." He revealed his name, Yahweh, promising to lead them to the land he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Despite the initial setbacks, and the people's despair, God's mighty purpose remains steadfast. Defiant Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites go. As God commanded, Aaron's staff turned into a serpent, swallowing the magician's snakes, yet Pharaoh remained unmoved. Then the Nile turned to blood, its fish dying, and its water undrinkable for 7 days. But Pharaoh's heart stayed hard. Next, swarms of frogs covered the land, invading homes and beds. Pharaoh relented, promising release, but once the frogs died, he broke his word. Gnats then tormented humans and livestock, followed by relentless plagues of flies. Still, Pharaoh's stubbornness held firm. A devastating pestilence killed Egyptian livestock, but the Israelites' animals remained untouched. Boils erupted on people and animals, causing great suffering, yet Pharaoh's will would not bend. Pharaoh's stubborn heart brought more woes upon Egypt. First, swarms of locusts devoured every green thing, then a suffocating darkness blanketed the land for 3 days. Still, Pharaoh refused to release Israel. God, however, prepared his final, devastating blow, the death of every firstborn son and animal in Egypt. But for Israel, there was a way of escape. They were instructed to sacrifice a lamb, smear its blood on their doorposts, and eat unleavened bread, a special meal called Passover. When the angel of death swept through Egypt, it passed over the blood-marked Israelite homes. This horror finally broke Pharaoh's will, and he cried out for Moses and Israel to leave. God then led his people out, a pillar of cloud guiding them by day, and fire by night, reminding them always of their miraculous liberation. Pharaoh's chariots thundered in pursuit, trapping Israel against the vast Red Sea. Fear gripped them, but Moses, by God's command, stretched out his hand. The mighty waters miraculously parted, revealing a dry path. Israel walked through. As Egyptians followed, the sea crashed back, swallowing Pharaoh's army. Joy erupted in songs of praise. Their joy soon turned to murmuring in the wilderness. Thirsty, they found bitter water at Marah, which God made sweet. Then, hunger set in. But God, ever faithful, rained down manna from the sky each morning, and brought quail in the evenings, sustaining them daily. This divine provision taught them dependence, and demonstrated God's constant care. Thirsty again at Rephidim, the people grumbled. God instructed Moses to strike a rock, and water miraculously gushed forth, quenching their thirst. Soon after, the Amalekites attacked. Moses, holding the staff of God high on a hill, ensured Israel's victory as long as his hands remained raised, a visual testament to divine assistance sought through prayer. Continuing their journey, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, visited, and wisely advised Moses to delegate leadership, establishing a system of judges to ease his burden. Finally, after 3 months, they arrived at Mount Sinai. God, in a dramatic display of power with thunder, lightning, and a thick cloud descended upon the mountain, marking his holy presence and preparing to deliver his covenant to his chosen people. From the thundering peak of Mount Sinai, God spoke, delivering his covenant. He first proclaimed the 10 Commandments, profound principles for loving God and neighbor, forming their moral foundation. These weren't mere suggestions, but almighty words, shaping their worship and conduct. Then, God detailed specific laws for daily life. These ordinances covered bondservants, personal injury, property damage, theft, and restitution. They protected the vulnerable strangers, widows, orphans, and commanded against sorcery, idolatry, and other abhorrent practices. These detailed regulations established a just and holy society, reflecting God's character in their daily interactions and communal life. Continuing from Sinai, God provided further instructions, emphasizing justice, Sabbath observance, and the celebration of 3 annual feasts to remind them of his deliverance and provision. He promised an angel to lead them to the promised land, urging obedience and warning against the idolatrous practices of the nations they would encounter. Moses then ascended Sinai again, and God revealed detailed blueprints for the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary where his presence would dwell among them. The instructions covered everything: the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest to house the tablets of the law, the table for the bread of the presence, the golden lampstand, and the intricate curtains and coverings. God specified the materials: gold, silver, bronze, fine linen, and the precise measurements, reflecting the sacredness and order of his dwelling place among his people. Continuing his meticulous instructions, God unveiled the detailed plans for the tabernacle's structure. Moses received precise directions for the wooden boards, silver bases, and connecting bars, forming the sacred tent's sturdy frame, the inner veil, separating the holy place from the most holy place, and the outer screen for the entrance were meticulously described. God then laid out the design for the brazen altar of burnt offering and the spacious courtyard, complete with its linen hangings and bronze pillars. Every detail, down to the lampstand oil, was covered. Finally, divine focus shifted to the priestly garments. Aaron was to wear sacred vestments, an ornate ephod with tribal onyx stones, a breastplate holding the Urim and Thummim, a robe, tunic, turban, and sash. These holy garments symbolized their consecrated role for ministering in God's presence. Back on Sinai, God detailed the elaborate consecration ceremony for Aaron and his sons, ordaining them for priestly service. This involved specific sacrifices: a bull, rams, and unleavened bread, and anointing with oil, symbolizing their dedication to holy service. For 7 days, this ritual was to be repeated, filling their hands with sacred duties and sanctifying the altar. God also commanded daily offerings, 2 lambs each day, a continual burnt offering demonstrating their constant devotion. The Lord reiterated the importance of the Sabbath as a sign of the covenant between him and Israel, a day of sacred rest. Finally, as a tangible symbol of this divine agreement, God presented Moses with 2 tablets of stone, inscribed by his own finger, bearing the testimony of the covenant. While Moses was atop Sinai, receiving God's law, the impatient Israelites below pressured Aaron to fashion them gods. Using melted gold jewelry, he crafted a golden calf. They celebrated with feasting and idolatrous worship, forgetting the God who delivered them. Descending the mountain with the tablets, Moses was consumed by righteous anger at this betrayal. He shattered the tablets, confronted Aaron, and then, in a powerful display of zeal for God, called for those loyal to the Lord. The Levites answered, and a judgment fell upon the idolaters. Moses then pleaded with God for their forgiveness, interceding on their behalf. After fervent prayer, God relented. Moses returned to Sinai, where God, in his grace, renewed the covenant and inscribed new tablets, revealing his glory to Moses in the process. Moses gathered the Israelites, reminding them of the Sabbath and then calling for a freewill offering to build God's dwelling. The people responded with an overflowing generosity that astonished even Moses, bringing gold, silver, bronze, precious stones, fine linens, and vibrant dyes, so much that Moses had to tell them to stop. God, in his wisdom, had already empowered Bezalel and Oholiab with divine skill for every intricate craft. With their hearts stirred and talents ignited, these master artisans, alongside other gifted individuals, began the monumental task. They meticulously fashioned the tabernacle's inner curtains, its various coverings, and the sturdy wooden frames, all precisely according to the divine blueprints. Then came the sacred furnishings. The Ark of the Covenant with its mercy seat, the table for the bread of the presence, and the exquisitely designed golden lampstand. Every piece, from the altar of incense to the anointing oil, was perfectly crafted, a testament to devoted hands building God's presence among them. Just as in the ancient wilderness, skilled hands continued the sacred work. Bezalel and Oholiab, with their God-given abilities, crafted the brazen altar for burnt offerings, the bronze wash basin for the priest's purification, and the intricate hangings for the tabernacle courtyard. Every detail, from the sockets to the tent pegs, was made according to the divine plan. Finally, the momentous day arrived. Moses oversaw the erection of the tabernacle. Piece by piece, the framework was raised, the coverings spread, and the inner veil hung, creating the sacred separation. The Ark of the Covenant, the table, the lampstand, and the altar of incense were placed in their designated spots. Moses anointed everything with oil, consecrating it for holy service. Then, as the final act of completion, the cloud of the Lord descended upon the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle, signifying God's dwelling among his people.
Subscribe.